Today we're going to take a look at this #1 new release on Amazon, the GTKii GTK37 fixed blade knife. Now, thanks for staying with me. Let's hit the first order of business: safety. Make sure you guys have your safety, your tourniquets or whatever you may need. First thing that I must say is I absolutely really like the design of this knife here. I think they did an excellent job, and this is actually the first GTKii knife that I've looked at, although I've heard a lot of people say they like them. This one, you know, the design is excellent on this, you know, design. I will go ahead and put all the specs up right here so you can just pause it for a second and look at those if you want. Now we've gotten past the specs, let's talk about a few things. So, you know, the sheath and handles here are both FRN, which is fiberglass reinforced nylon, and they're okay. They're grippy enough, I guess, but we'll see once we get into the use portion. And it does have some jimping on the back, which is nice. It's not, you know, rough that's going to grab you. But one thing that is rather strange, it's the way it's cut. It actually doesn't grab your finger so much going forward, like if you were using it in this fashion. I mean, it does grab a little, but it's the way it's cut, it actually grabs your finger more coming backwards. So like I assume for withdrawing, you know, you into a target and then withdraw, your thumb would stick a little bit more. That's the only thing I can think of why they would have done that. And here's some other options on the market that are, you know, similar in size that you may be familiar with. Here we have the BK16 by K-Bar, and all of these will be US made options. So although quite expensive, quite more expensive, I guess I would say. And there we have the Tops Fieldcraft, or better known as the Bob, and this is the full-size version, not the smaller one. And there is the Bark River Bravo 1.25, not the LT version. This is the regular version. Let's go ahead and look at this sheath first. So your only attachment hardware are going to be these Scout style straps, which do open up there, you know, to go on your belt. And it's intended to wear in the small of your back, as you should be seeing right now. But that is going to be your only mounting solutions. Now, these can be taken off or moved, you know, with these different eyelets however you would like. But that is kind of the first complaint, I guess, is I would honestly rather see just a regular belt loop style, or a dangler even, but probably just the regular belt loop. And it could be made with this same leather as far as I'm concerned, you know, as long as it wasn't super floppy, because I don't think most people want to carry Scout style, my opinion only, I guess. And this sheath is also FRN, which people have claimed, you know, the fiberglass in this will dull your knife over time. There was a big issue with cold steel, you know, and all that junk, but I don't know, haven't tried it yet. This is first look, so we'll see if over time that makes any difference. Personally, I don't think it will, because the edge doesn't really, I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but the edge doesn't really come in contact. It does have a good positive click retention, and it does have, you know, a good ballistic draw, so it shoots right off of there. But one major ordeal, you can hear rather loud, not too bad front to back, it's mainly side to side, so definitely could use a little bit of revision there, but not terrible overall. The little lanyard off the back is okay. I could see it helping, you know, putting your pinky through there to do some chopping, which we'll try that out too and see how that goes. I think that'll work well. And it is a hidden lanyard, if you want to call it that. So it has the hole in the metal tang here, and then of course the cutouts and the handles for it to come through, which is good because then you don't have it, you know, here in your way. These are hollow screws, however, so you could run a small one through there if you wanted. I don't know that a person would need anything more than this, if even this. Just to do a little sharpness, let's see if this will cut the paper, because it does feel rather sharp. Yeah, it's not too bad. My paper's probably a little bit moist from the humidity, but feels like maybe out there towards the end, you know, there might be a little hiccup out here somewhere, but it actually feels rather sharp. And, you know, for the 22, 23, 24 sometimes, whatever cost they have on it, you know, not too shabby in my opinion. I mean, it's definitely sharp enough to use, so let's go ahead and use it just a little bit here. Just kind of shave off some of this bark just to see what we've got here. And of course, this is a very dry piece of looks like hickory, honestly. Pretty sure that's what it is, but you can see the dust coming off of it from the little worms and junk that get in there and bore their way in. But as far as I'm concerned, though, that's nice, not bad at all. And it does actually get pretty thin behind the edge. I don't really have a good way of showing that to you. Just have to take my word for it, other than giving you the measurement on it. That I can do. All right, let's just do a couple simple notches here. And then it's cutting the hickory just fine. Very dry hickory at that. But there's just a small example. So I don't think notching would be difficult at all. Let's try something else here. Try to pop it out, make sure it didn't do anything to the blade. Nope, that crack was indeed the wood. So edge is just fine. Oh yeah, just fine. Let's just go ahead and get straight into the batoning, the evil batoning that nobody likes, that you never need to do. Yeah, maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know. Honestly, not my problem, whether you do or you don't. However, for me, it does kind of give you an idea of how strong the knife really is. I mean, if it can handle something like this, which you can see I'm going right up the split from where two branches were, so probably won't be super easy on it. And if it fails, you'll see it. That hit was right on the tip. And if you can see it there, nothing. No problem. How about this big old piece of Fatwood here? This is you know, over 3 inches anyway. The outside's a little bit kind of rotted here, but the inside core, which is at least 3 inches, is definitely rock solid. So this will be a really good test for it. See what happens here. Yeah, you can see that's really going to be a test, and this stuff is hard, very hard. Oh, I guess it's not that hard. Look at that beautiful, beautiful Fatwood. This is solid. Solid, wild caught Fatwood. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. Great job. Let's see if I can get some decent little curls out of this. Not necessarily looking to go for anything super special, but this is Fatwood, by the way. Oh yeah. This thing feathers great. Lost a few of them there, but that's okay. Not really trying to make a best feather stick I ever could, but just more so to show. Look at that. I'll leave that one a little high. Only downside that I see so far, well, some would consider it a downside, some wouldn't, but the spine is not sharp on this, so you're not going to get scrapings and you're not going to get to strike a ferro rod. Now, it may get some very small scrapings, but it will not strike a ferro rod. So, you just have to have this, your ferro rod and striker. Ooh, look at that black smoke. Look at that. Look how potent that Fatwood is. Stuff ain't no joke. Now let's do a little bit of tip testing, which this has, you know, a pretty precise tip, but it seems to be robust enough. I don't think I would pry with it, but let's go ahead and just make like a divot, you know, like say we're making a, you know, bow drill set, or just need to bore a hole for whatever you may need to bore a hole for, working on a project or, you know, building something, whatever you might need it for. And this is hickory that it's being bored into, by the way. Pretty good little hole there. Pretty good little divot. And it would appear our tip is still intact. So, no problem there, I wouldn't think. Now, I wouldn't recommend, if you stab, I wouldn't recommend side to side. I don't know how well it would hold up to that. But, I mean, we can... Yeah, it'd probably do okay. Yeah, it'd probably do okay. That tip is pretty robust, actually. In case you got grubs you're digging for. Yeah, no problem there. Tip is still intact. Outstanding. Now let's do a little bit of that chopping on this oak log here. That's what a good use for this lanyard would be. That way you can choke back on the knife and you can really extend your chopping force. Look at that. Wonderful bite. Look at the chips fly. And like I said, this is oak. Although, I will say it's not super hard oak, but oak usually is pretty hard. Oh, there's a knot right there too. I don't know, maybe the knife is just chewing right through it. You see there's the knot, which we're going right into. There it is. No problem whatsoever with that. Beautiful job. Now let's cut some stuff with it. You know, maybe I should have done this before doing all of the banging on it through the wood and stuff, but let's see. Oh yeah, no problem. I barely even pushed that. Go back here a little bit further. Easy. Nothing to it. Even cut it on this log that's not very flat, I mean. Works great. This is some extremely stiff mil-spec webbing, and you can tell it's pretty stiff by how much it stands up. I mean, look at that. Normal webbing just folds right over. So let's see if it can cut this. Although if it doesn't cut immediately through everything, I'm not going to be too mad at it, because it does have the resin from the Fatwood all over the blade, which is rather sticky, so we'll see. Oh yeah, popped right now. We've got some leather here. This is about, yeah, probably close to like 3/16 thick, which I guess it'd be a good time to mention that, you know, you saw the specs earlier, but this blade is almost 1/4 inch thick on the stock, so I really like that personally. Let's see if it'll cut this thick leather here. You think it'll do it? Trying to keep my fingers out of the way, but oh yeah, cut it no problem. Again, cut it no problem. Good cardboard stuff. Shouldn't have much trouble with that. Oh yeah, just slides right through it. No problem. And with the full flat grind on here, meaning the bevel, not the silver part, but the black portion, the bevel goes from the edge all the way to the spine. That's what a full flat grind is. So great for slicing. Here we've got some twisted sisal. Looks like about 1/2 inch if I was guessing, which I am. Got it. And this is the like really rough stuff. I'm not really sure what this is exactly because it didn't come in a package, but it's the really like rough and scratchy kind of rope. So yeah, difficult, but it's cutting it no problem. Just trying not to cut myself too. Yeah, there we go. No sweat. Finish held up absolutely great on this knife. You can see a little bit there from where I was chopping, but actually a lot of that'll come off. That's just, you know, wood residue on there, if you will, want to call it that. But I absolutely love this knife for $25. I mean, this is an absolute hit. You know, GTKii, you did an excellent job on this knife. For $25, this is an absolute gem. And to finally wrap things up, the K110 steel, which is basically the name brand for D2, definitely seemed to have held up good. It's still super sharp, and that's after all of this. I mean, it's still sharp. So I think great job on this one here, GTKii. However, and this is just me personally, if you guys wanted to make this knife better, go with some micarta scales on it, go with a real Kydex sheath, fix the rattle issue, and put the belt loop on it. And otherwise, I don't think anything needs to be changed. The blade itself is great. The FRN sheath isn't bad. It does have a little bit, which you can see in some of the pictures of where it was molded, you know, that they didn't clean off, like around there. But I mean, other than that, you know, for 20, you know, whatever, 2 to 4, and sometimes it's on Amazon for 30. I mean, I still don't think that's a terrible deal, but I would give, you know, I'd give $50 for this very easily with the micarta scales and the real Kydex sheath. So just something to think about. And I guess that's pretty well it. You know, I think it's a great knife, especially for the price, you know, with the little bit of use that I've already done. But I mean, I can tell it's gonna be fine. It shouldn't have any issues, I wouldn't think. But I will use it more as time goes on, and of course, if there's ever a problem later on, you know, I'll update that here. So with that, we'll go ahead and just wrap it up and call it a day on this one. So thank you all for watching, and if you would, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment, all the good YouTube stuff. It really does help out a smaller channel like mine. And with that, we'll see you in the next one.